Can I get a woo woo? Welcome to the Woo Woo and You podcast. I am your host, B. Marie. And if you love all things manifestation, sound healing, auras, tarot, astrology, numerology, or anything else considered woo, then you are in the right spot. So sit back, relax, and let's dive in.
Hey, Marie.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm excited for today.
Same. I really enjoyed your podcast. I've since you sent it to me, just been going reel by reel. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. This is
Oh,
good.
really?
Yeah,
Well,
I,
good.
I really enjoy your perspectives. I mean, it takes a great deal of courage to get out there and use your own experiences and vulnerability to kind of help other people. It's amazing. I really enjoyed it.
I'm so glad you liked it. I really just kind of started the podcast as a way to. My dog's gonna be here. He's just gonna be in the. He's just sometimes he appears. So this is Mojo. This is
All
my
good. I'm an animal lover. I love dogs especially, so he's more than
yes.
welcome.
So he's a baby. So he's probably gonna be like in my lap or around. Just a heads up. But
Okay.
yeah, I started the podcast as just a way for me to talk about all the stuff I like, basically. All like crystals and astrology and human design and anything that's interesting to me. I
Yeah.
just that's what I originally started the woo woo as. So it kind of progressed from there. So I'm glad you liked it. Do you have a favorite episode? How many episodes have you listened to?
I've gone through. I'm on the fourth one, so I said I've gone through four. I've gone through three, and I'm on the fourth. The one that I'm currently on is the one that you're doing jointly with two other people, and you guys are talking about some things that I'm not quite so familiar with. So it was all the more treat for me. Um,
Oh,
you had discussions about the manifestation school that you had gone into, and you all were having different communications about different aspects of what goes along with it. And they said certain things I had not heard before. So like I'm rewinding now, and I think that was maybe one of the long ones. That was about an hour. So I can't make it any more than about 20 minutes in because I keep rewinding and
oh
listening.
wow.
But
Yeah.
it's so enjoyable for me.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad because yeah, I try to keep them no more than an hour because I know a lot of people's attention spans don't really go past an hour. Because I know for me personally, if I start listening to a podcast and it's like 2 hours long, a little bit after the hour, I start to like disconnect, or I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to finish that at a later time. So I really try to between 30 minutes to an hour is like the sweet spot, I
Yeah.
find. So that's where I'm trying to keep it at.
Oh, that's fantastic. It was great. Like I said, I've enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to listening to more. So
Oh, good. Yeah,
thank
because
you for doing that.
this would be like what, number 12? So I haven't done that many episodes actually. So,
Yeah, well, kudos so far. Great job.
well, thank you. Okay, well, if you just want to like introduce yourself and like I want to know more about your story, like where you started at, and then of course the 3 day meditation that I did not even know was in our backyard, and I'm really sad that I missed it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, okay, fantastic. My name is Johnarthur Duke. Everybody calls me Jay. Starting off, I considered myself to be much a regular person, much like everybody else, not really wanting to make a great deal of waves, kind of wanting to find a good place in life and um, get married, all the things that everybody wants. And so, it was always as a child, I did really well with listening, right? Following the direction of parents. And it helped that I grew up in an area that I had not specifically had designs to stay in. Um, for whatever reason it was, I knew from very young that it did not reflect off of me in a way that I enjoyed, right? And so there was more out there. I just didn't know about it. But kind of fast forward, and I went through all the things that we all go through. I got through high school, and through the encouragement of my parents, I decided to go to college. Because that's how you have an opportunity to have a life, right?
Yeah.
So I went to college despite the fact that I had no inclination or design to go to school. I didn't know what I was even going to major in. I was just there for, of course, the fulfillment and safety purposes. So, you get through college, and for me, it was the same average experience. I ended up around C-ish average, a lot of partying, a little bit of studying.
Yeah,
But,
that's how it goes.
enjoyed the college experience. I got out. I got into finance was my chosen field, as I just always inclinated to math. It was very easy to me. It was something that came naturally, so it's the thing that I picked. Went through a financial career, 20 years, built myself up working for the government. I worked for different banks and helping people do small business loans. And like, that was really my thing when I first got into it. It's like, okay, I had this as a talent. I come from a place that's pretty poor. If I get into this, and I can go back and teach the people where I'm from about finances, and that'll help solve everybody's problem.
Right.
Uh, Quickly found out that the corporate world was not about solving everybody's problem. It was about money.
Yes.
Didn't sit well with me. And so that's where the government kind of kicked in, and it provided an opportunity again for me to at least provide some service when I began to realize that the finance that I had chosen was not about helping the community so much as it was about filling the pockets of the stock owners. So I took a demotion, went to the government thinking, hey, this is the answer. Now, I'll kind of get in here. I can provide a service. I come from a family that provided service to this country. My father and grandfather were both Marines, and I had chosen a different path, but it was still service nonetheless to me. So I started working with the government and quickly built myself up rapidly, in fact, for their standards. Made my way up to senior leadership. Again, ended up at the Pentagon. You hosting a $200,000 a year job. I get married, and we end up having 2 kids just after. We buy a beautiful home. We don't have the financial issues, of course, because I've taken through that path and all of that good stuff. But it was like there was still this hole for me. No matter how much I continue to accomplish of what I was told, this is going to lead to your happiness, to your peace, to your life, if you will. Every time I'd accomplish it, it's like, all right, you sit there and there's this immediate satisfaction, but then what follows is the same hole. And I mean, the same one I had from a child, feeling like I did not belong in the place that I was at. And so it felt as though I could not outrun this hole. But when I turned and looked at myself, I realized by chasing all these things that I had been chasing, I was losing the things that actually innately mattered to me that I did pick up along the way. So it stated I had a family, but I found myself increasingly traveling for work and increasingly having to meet this deadline and that deadline, working later. And next thing I know, again, back and forth to DC, um, my relationship with my wife is starting to slip. I realized that we don't have a lot that we see at the moment in common at that time, which created a gap. I noticed that my kids' grades were starting to slip, and they were a bit more defiant towards me. And I mean, they were small at this time, very small.
So
But they were,
that oh sorry, I was gonna say so that actually affected your kids and your family, not just you. That's
that's
affecting
correct.
them too. Okay.
That's correct. See, I think for me, the thing was is that I had kind of swallowed the Kool-Aid whole, right? You want a good life, you want to do it right, put your head down, pick a job, work for it, don't say a whole lot, don't make waves, blah, blah, blah. But the truth became that life started making the wave for me. Because again, along this route, even though I don't know what it is to be a father before I am one, once I am one, there is this innate connection that I realize that I'm losing. I've never been a husband before, but once I am one, again, this is something that becomes of importance to you, and you realize, hey, I'm not performing this task to the best of maybe the best of my abilities is what I'm doing, but that means I have a gap in my abilities. I'm unable to sustain the things that matter about this journey. And so, it was a very difficult decision of what do you do with your life there when you're doing the only thing that you know how and building yourself up, financially and all these things, as you've seen were problems when you were smaller, but in building those things, you're losing everything that you've grown to care about. And it created this conundrum for me. Um, well, what happened was life again kind of helped out with that bit of push. Working for the government, being that far away, they wanted me to come in on a more permanent basis. To where I was, it was not a position that my family could up and move and uproot to another place immediately that way. And it would have meant more separation. And so I made the choice right then and there that no, enough was enough. I'm going to choose me. And
Yeah.
I think that was the first solid decision for myself about myself that I had ever made in my life. Um,
And how did that feel? Like, were you terrified? You're like, because this is the path that you chose. You're going down this success path, right? Success path. And now you have this option. The road is splitting. So you can take, and you chose to go off the beaten path. So how did you feel making that decision?
I did. So the feeling is an interesting response here. So I must caveat this by saying I was fortified by the work I had been doing prior to this point, unbeknownst to myself. Um, I did not consider any of the things that I was doing work. I, for random reasons, began to study certain things and develop interest in things that I had not been interested in before. Again, all of this kind of started with looking at myself. I got introduced to a book by Robert Singer called The Untethered Soul. I read that, and it was like this eye-opening thing to this other world that exists, right? So, I'm tinkering on these different things. I've been meditating a couple years up to this point. I've been doing a great deal of reading, research, and studying, and that led me down a path that I will talk about. But the path was important, but I'm fortified by these things at the time that I make this choice, kind of putting me in the middle of recognizing that I'm responsible for this path for myself, if you will. I've gotten myself to the place that I'm at, and I'm getting my first inkling of seeing it. So while I felt the same anxiety that anybody would walking away from that level of security, there was another thing that was fighting that inside of me that said, this is for you, this is the right choice. You believe in yourself, you can remake anything that you've attained, but you can do it in a way that fits you. And that continued to be like the resounding thought in the back of my head. You can do this thing, you can get it all back, but you can do it in a way that speaks to you.
Right. And I think a lot of people like to hang on to security. They're afraid to let go and do something that would be more fulfilling to them later down the road. You know what I mean? Because for me, I had something similar happen. I was working a full-time job that I absolutely loved, and then I was driving for a living. So I love that job. And then I developed plantar fasciitis from that job, and it got so bad that I was hurting. So I was in physical pain. And so I asked, could I be, part-time? They agreed. And then later on down the road, they were asking, would you come back? When are you coming back full-time, basically? But I took a look at that and I was like, mentally I feel better because my phone is no longer blowing up,
Right.
and I'm not I'm not working 40 plus hours a week anymore. So I
Right.
have more time to do what I want to do and then kind of explore other things. So I was like, you know what, I don't want to go full time anymore. So at that point, I think I lasted about 6 months part time and they finally let me go. I just went into work one day. I think it was like a Wednesday, it was like the middle of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And they called me in at like noon. It was like noon. And they were like, this is your last day. And I was just like, what? I was so heartbroken. It was literally like a breakup for me. Literally. But at the same time, I got to pursue the woo woo. That's when I got, I guess, the push to do this, right?
Yeah.
And to explore this. And that's when I started partnering with the other two, Lindsay and Megan, on the woo woo. And we just we just kind of started doing this. And I got into sound baths, doing sound baths, and doing the podcast and creating the website and creating products. And it was just fun. And then obviously I needed work to pay for things. So my boundary, my criteria was part-time. I'm not going back full-time, no matter what it is. So I set that boundary for myself and I'm still part-time as I build the woo-woo. So I think learning to put your boundaries in place and sticking to it, even though it can be nerve-wracking, right? It can be like,
Yes.
oh no, what am I doing? Are you crazy? It's gonna work out? That's not the right path. But I feel like once you know yourself and your boundaries, what you want and what feels good to you, that's what
Yes.
people need to stick with.
Yes.
No matter how crazy it sounds, no matter how unorthodox it is, or whatever.
Absolutely, absolutely. The boundaries become an establishment of who you are. As you began to discover it, the the truth of all of this aspect is all of these things were leading me to a place where I was to become the authentic version of myself. Yes. As stated, there are a lot of things that happen. I mean, we talking woo. I'm going to talk a couple woo things here shortly,
Yes,
but
please.
it's it's one of those things. I was not a religious or spiritual person, um, to very minimal extent, right? Like I had an upbringing in it. I was raised in a Christian church, and I believed in God, but I had a lot of separation issues, if you will, relative to it. And the kind of path that's taken me here has basically nullified that, right? Like it's the things that take place along the path, especially when you sit down and look back and reflect upon it. It's like, wow, how did that happen? it's amazing,
Yeah,
and some of mine that have kind of helped with the transitory period of getting to this life of living in authenticity were the recognition of that higher source, right? Um, Most of the big problem that most of us have when we're trying to pursue the things that we think of, that we dream of, is the associated fears. Because what comes along with that, yes, the dream looks nice, it feels nice, it sounds nice, but how will we protect ourselves? How will we care for the home that we're in? How will we put food on the table? Yeah,
right,
that becomes like the greatest fear. However, the understanding of the steps that are in place, and that when you become more aware of every moment and combining the awareness with an understanding of your own authenticity, there are very few moments of creases that work to your benefit that get past you, right? So the thing that I found is that they were always there. Those creases were there before I knew myself, but I had no ability to see them. Yeah, it's like I use the example when my wife's father got married, was in Boston. Now, Springfield area, I say Boston, it was Springfield. That's important because I'm a basketball fan, and the Basketball Hall of Fame is in Springfield, Massachusetts. So I'm giddy about just being in Massachusetts. And so my wife and I are driving, um, and I say, "Look, there it is." And she's like, "Huh?" Kind of coming out of her own, trance, if you will. There it is. There, the spring. You didn't see it. The Basketball Hall of Fame. We just drove by it. I've definitely got to go there. She said, "What Hall of Fame? Was it near the shopping mall?" So it's like the exact same reality, but no Basketball Hall of Fame existed for her at all.
right,
Just like no
right,
shopping mall existed for me. I never saw it. It was clearly plain as day right there in front of us, but I didn't see that at all. I drove right by it. But I
right,
definitely saw the Basketball Hall of Fame. And it made it very clear to me how much we truly do control, what our outcome in this life is, like how we perceive this life. It's based upon our decision to perceive it in the way that we do.
right,
Um, and that was kind of one of those culminating points for me to try to put together the things that I've been doing, which are getting people to understand what it means to be the authentic self, right? Um, Being the authentic self leads to the actual joy that you're truly searching for. And there's a connector piece to getting there, right? We hear about it all the time about being authentic. We hear about letting go and letting God. If you've ever grown up in a church atmosphere, we hear about all the different casual things that people have to say about it. But the hard part becomes in how do you do this? Like how is that? Like how do you let go and let God? It's great that you gave me the analogy to get on a train and put your bags down, but I'm not actually on a train. I'm living, right?
uh-huh,
So that's the thing, and that's where all of the things that I was doing before kind of led to this establishment of the work that I'm doing. I've been working on understanding the mind. For whatever reason, I got heavy into psychology for a good period. I started studying a great deal of psychologists, a great deal of studies that are out there through Harvard Medical School. I got all different types of things. I just had this interest. I was losing all of the other interests that I had, trying to watch old TV shows that I enjoyed and It's like, I'm changing the channel in between it and back to it. And it's like, why am I not enjoying this? I used to love this. And so there was a period where I had to embrace these, I call it, I would say natural changes, but they were really more unnatural changes because they happened so abruptly from out of nowhere. But those unnatural changes led me to understand the thing that I was most inquisitive about, the human experience. Why are we having such a hard time? Why is it so stressful for everyone? I mean, the life seems to be out there. There are some people that are living the life of their dreams, while the majority are going from day to day, just trying to figure out how to go from day to day. Not just financially, I mean, like mentally, emotionally, like it's a full toll. I have friends who are dying before the age of 50 from causes that shouldn't affect them until they're in their 70s and 80s. Heart attacks. And, it's like, what's going on with everybody? And me being the spirit that I am, I've always wanted to be of support in a way that I see that can lead others to lead or have a better time, a good life. It's very important to me. I'm a pleaser. And so, I continued in this work, and I started to have these now woo things start to come up when I sort of accepted that, hey, there's some innate gifts within me. There are things that I'm able to tolerate that most aren't. I was starting to think about going into psychology because I like listening to people. I usually can coherently take what they say and take the complex idea of what they're having trouble with and convert that into pieces that makes it more understandable for them, almost as if it was a gift. So it's like, okay, psychology, and but that's not doing it. But I need a transpersonal aspect, and so I find my way at Edgar Cayce Center.
Mm.
Uh, Edgar Cayce Center opened up a great deal for me on the woo side.
So do you
That's right. So I
do
started
you want to
reading.
do you want to tell me some
Oh,
food side? Because I'd love to hear about it.
yes, I start reading Casey. I get heavier into the meditation. I'm now starting to understand how we are sensibly connecting with our energy to the energy field. And it's all starting to make sense. I want to
So
go deeper into this, and I find this meditation that's a 3-day meditation, and it's going to test me because it's a silent meditation. So for 3 days, I cannot speak. Um, and the trouble that I'm having with meditation is this focus, right? Because my mind's all over the place like everyone else. All right, so 3 days, I'm thinking, all right, Jesus did 40 days, 40 nights, 3 days, should be able to do it anyways.
but it's a lot harder
It's a
than
lot harder than one would believe. Yeah. This was at Ocean View Yoga, a fantastic place. And they brought in a swami by the name of Swami G from India. Now, Swamiji didn't talk during the session. He had a supporter who kind of spoke and gave us instructions and when to change, do different things, where we could stop and eat, that type of thing. But we go into a meditation. This is on the first day. And they want us to sit for an hour without talking. Okay. We're in a circle. I would paint the room. It's maybe about 15 people in a circle, Swamiji at the head, and everyone around him. Well, I'm in my lotus position, typical meditation, into thought. And here's the woo starts kicking in. I start feeling something pulling me. Now, Swamiji's to my right side of the curve. Um, and I start feeling a pull, not like something grabbing me and pulling, but like an energy moving me. But
kind of
again, I'm
like a magnet, maybe.
almost like a magnet, right? Like if something
Okay.
were to be pulling you. Now, again, I'm sitting in lotus position with my hands kind of cupped in front in a receptive position. So, of no motion can I move, really move myself with my legs crossed. I have no momentum.
Right.
However, I feel myself moving. Now, at this point, I'm not opening my eyes. I'm still keeping my eyes closed. And I feel myself with what feels like I'm almost sideways. I don't particularly know. After a minute, it lets up and I come back up. Then it happens again. Now, this time I know for sure that it is because I feel a hand kind of touch the small of my back, if you will. It lasts for a little bit longer. I come back up and I sit my hands down and I turn towards the direction the energy is pointing. I don't know what's that direction. My eyes are closed. I can't feel it, but I can feel this pull. And I turn, I just kind of lift myself up, still sitting in lotus, twist, and sit back down. And then everything calms down to nothingness. Absolute nothing. The pull goes away. There's nothing there. I don't feel anything. I don't know anything. I'm almost kind of in perplexed nature about who I am at this point. Um, so we finish it out. The assistant calls for us to come out of the meditation, and they want us to do a drill to show how to transfer your emotions without speaking. So we are to go and find a partner to sit in front of, and we are to just stare, eye to eye, and try to convey through your emotions what it is that you were feeling within your time in meditation. I haven't moved at this point. It's needless to say. Everybody else is stretching. They're getting up. I'm there. I'm shaking, right? My eyes are open. But internally, I feel like what I imagine electricity feels like, and it feels like my skin is holding it in. So I don't want to move. I can't talk. I wouldn't want to talk even if I could. I'm kind of perplexed to what's happening to me.
Were
But I
you
feel like
afraid at any
I was
point?
not
Were you
afraid.
afraid? No, no
Not
fear.
at all. No fear, just a perplexed nature of what is this power? And it literally feels like my skin is holding in what's much bigger than it. Um,
So
and when I
like
say,
I what I'm picturing is like the electric ball where you put your hands on and it moves with the little pink ball, you know what I'm talking about?
yes,
Is it kind of like that where the glass is holding all this electricity in?
essentially, yes, but it'd be more akin to like how I would imagine a balloon feels. If you
Okay.
could fill a balloon with continuous filling electricity and it's trying to get out of that thing. That's what this felt like. And I say, I use the word feel. It's not feeling like we traditionally say, like I feel sad, I feel. There was no sad, happy. If there was anything, perhaps closest to joy, but I'm so perplexed by what's happening that I'm not really registering this at the moment. I just remember feeling like my fingers felt like sausages had just been filled up to the casing. I don't want to move. I know that we're supposed to find a partner and speak with them, but I'm sitting there staring straight without moving a muscle at all. Some brave soul decides to sit in front of me. I felt so bad for her because what proceeded next was the complete loss of all control of anything that I had. Emotions, everything, anything that was in me began to flow. I've never cried like that in my life. And it wasn't, again, not an emotion like we think of cry. Like I didn't feel upset. There was an associated joy, but it was like a lack of control. Like you can't do anything about this.
Do you think
And my
maybe it was all your bottled emotions from the past just exploding?
well, I think there was some of that in association with what was taking place. Uh, I feel like I was let into the truth about what I really am from an energy perspective. If just for an inkling. Um, when the oh no, before I get too far past this point, while the woman is sitting in front of me and I'm tears are just flowing everywhere, but a smile on my face. I keep the smile. I can't stop
Really?
smiling either. So
So
it's like
you're
this.
smiling and crying at the same time.
I'm smiling, but I'm crying like someone who just lost their dog. But
Wow.
my mouth is pulled up as high, like someone's grabbing and pulling it apart, and I can't stop the smile, nor can I stop the tears,
Wow.
nor could I stop the erratic energy on the inside. It was just like this explosion going on internally to me. And so after after the poor lady was done, she started. She was about to cry too. She didn't know what was going on with me. But after we're done, at the end of the 3 days, I asked this swami about it. And these were the only words that he ever said in my presence the entire time that I was there. Um, but explained to me that in their culture, what they consider that is they call it the death of the ego. This is the reactions that I had is one of the things that he says they look for in any of their initiates when they come there. This is a natural occurrence that happens when you reach a certain depth of self. Now, again, I don't know any of these things. Like this is something that he's explaining to me. Um, and since that point, I've got a greater understanding of what took place because the levels of empathy within me have changed drastically. My ability to connect and understand, again, like I said, complex thoughts, specifically spiritual thoughts, come to me very easily. Um, in a way that they shouldn't because I don't have the background for it. Right. Like if you were to talk to me about finance and numbers and, the government process, yes, it would come to me like that. But I've got 20 years of experience with this.
Right.
My experience with spirituality and religion was I was made to go to church as a kid, and then I didn't go anymore.
Yep. Yep. Same here.
No reason I should understand these things, but I begin to understand them. And prior to that point, I think I had reread the Bible. I went through reading the Tao Te Ching, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the I Ching. Like it was just I was being led down this path that just didn't make sense for who I was or my path, my past. So now all of these things are coming in, right? I can hear people, I can feel people's energy. I know things that are taking place with their energy before they happen. I went on a trip with my family to Europe. We stopped. We were going to see Pompeii. My younger sister got on the bus with her child and sat down next to me. My parents were immediately when my sister came in. I looked at my wife and I said, "There's something wrong with my sister. She's upset, and whatever's going to take place here is going to be traumatic." That's what came to me, and that's how it happened. She was upset. I come to find out, she and my mother had gotten into an argument the night before. When we were there, she separated from the group because she was having such emotional anxiety, and then she almost got left in Pompeii, which would have been she would have got left on the boat. I don't know how I knew that was to take place, but that was the thought that came
Wow.
to me immediately when she got on the bus. And so these are the kind of things that have happened since that point.
So can I
Um,
ask you for that, was it a thought? Was it like a voice that's saying this? Did you see it play out in your mind? Did you feel it? Like, how did you get that information?
It's so very odd. The only way I can describe it is a knowing.
Just
It's
you
like,
just know.
if you've experienced something, you just kind of know, like you don't even necessarily have to be able to visually go back into the thing, but you know the thing that came from that. It's
Mm,
like that when I would have no reason to know that. Like, why is
right.
that sitting there? Like, it's not something that I always expected that if there were some connection with, the universe, with God, or something, that there'd be some dialogue going on. But I have yet personally to experience that. But I consistently have knowings that just take place with me, things that I should not know. I do a lot of research. I listen to a lot of Alan Watts and Joseph Campbell. They talk about things that are very complex that, again, without the background, I should know. But I know what they're talking about. And not only do I know what they're talking about, I can correlate these things to how they work on our plane physically. It is extremely interesting.
Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example?
Absolutely. Let's see. Here, let's do it live. You tell me something that is yeah, a little woo-woo relative to like manifestation or something like that. It's a bit woo that you want a little bit more understanding on, just something short and insight. And I'll explain to you how it goes from the spiritual aspect to the physical aspect of living.
Well, the only thing that comes to mind is my first sound bath experience. I didn't know what sound bath was at all. I went to a cacao ceremony and didn't know what that was either. I was invited. And I was like, and I'm the type of person to just try things, and I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll try it, whatever. So I went to the cacao ceremony, and at the very end, it was like a 10-minute, maybe 15-minute little sound bath. And I was just laying and looking at the ceiling, and, my brain is going, am I doing this right? What is supposed to be happening? All the thoughts. And then all of a sudden, a voice just says, you have a lot of work to do. And that was it. And I was just like, wait, what? What does this mean? Because I knew this was not my thought, right? Like, this is not what I would tell myself. Like, I have a lot of work to do. Why would I tell myself that? It makes no sense. So I know that was not my voice, but I have no idea who it was, where it came from, and how to connect back to that because I wanted more answers. I was like, explain, tell me more. So,
Yes. So the subtle speaking is a common thing, right? The connection to universe God is very subtle. The thoughts in the mind are very loud, demanding. The way this all works is that they operate on waves, right? Everything that we do operates on energy waves. Your thoughts to be the same thing, no different than like a cell phone, right? You text somebody or you call them, if their receiver is tuned to that wave, they immediately pick up, irrelevant to distance. Thoughts are the same, they're abundant in nature. Yes. So they all exist as it is, and your brain is a tuner to pull these things in to your regular thoughts. The connections to the spiritual don't come through that way, right? They're not necessarily the abundant waveform that's going around. They're the subtle inclination to things like intuition. And what's happening here is that your connection to source spirit is looking to express itself to itself in a way that you have yet not cultivated. It's likely to do with something that you've thought about in previous time, you've had desire for yourself for, and you've implanted that. You're part of the thought that can go out into the wave and disturb the field of wave that we live in, thus creating a chain reaction where the world itself needs to form to come back to you in some form or format. But
So that would be like a previous thought, not like the one that I was just in while I was like laying there looking at the ceiling going, what am I doing? Is this right?
correct.
So this is a previous thoughts I had. Okay.
Right. So, well, the previous thoughts start the chain reaction of a being that you want to exist, right? As you have that thought of your desire, the current you having that thought wants it, but you can't sustain it. You're not yet the person that can do as such, right? And so, in order for you to transition from the now that you're in to the you that's living in the now, doing the thing that you want to do, you have to be another person. Once you begin to be that thing, you can sustain that thing that you asked for. Thus, life bringing it to you will allow you to keep it, see it, maintain it, right? And so all of this comes from the waveform. That voice within you is the innate aspect of connection that you have to the source of life that's inkling you towards that direction now that you're ready to move in it.
Hmm.
Okay. So your connection to it, well, you'd have a stronger connection to it if you can control your intrusive thoughts because it comes in the silence, right? In any given moment that you can actually silence yourself, you become a lot more open to receiving those things. But
Yeah.
silencing yourself is the problem, right? Because who can
Yes.
control your
It's
thoughts?
the monkey mind is what I call it. Just da, 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 da.
That's right.
And then, maybe I might get like 2 to 5 seconds of like complete silence and then there it goes again. So it's
That's
very
right.
hard to like just be quiet.
That's right. So there's a dual aspect of that which makes the world we live in fantastic, right? Because we're here to express, expression of self. So when you have these thoughts or ideas which you gain based upon your experience to the abundance in the world, and then you use your tool to focus on that, the electrical thoughts come from the brain waves and thoughts. The magnetized part of it comes from the emotional feelings. Um,
So
talking
you're gonna
about
have both.
the talking about buying the house, right? Remember your story about buying the house.
Yeah.
Okay. What did that for you? You were exactly right in your description of it. The variation between what you did when you were working in network marketing versus what you did when you were looking for the house. So you magnetize that coming to you by having an emotional feeling attached to it. Anything that has the electromagnetic connection of alignment, head heart alignment, can enact desire and will.
Well, I actually felt neutral. I just knew that this house was mine and that's it. Like I didn't have like, worried about it or like I would say maybe I was excited because I was like thinking about what I would change or what I would do to it. But for the most part, I was just pretty neutral. I was just like, yeah, it's mine.
That's a part of the process as well. That's why the letting go and let God part, right? That's what that actually means. You want something, you show a desire for it, you have thoughts about it, you maintain an associated feeling about it, and then you allow yourself to become the person who would sustain it, i.e., you're thinking about what kind of changes you would make, how you would upgrade. So see, now you're prepping your neural connections to be a person owning a home, updating a home, doing, and now you're soliciting an emotional feeling because you doing that makes you happy. And so because you see that, you now aligned in your head what you say you want, like I want to be a homeowner, with what's in your heart. I believe I can be a homeowner, right? And those two things being aligned create both the electrical and magnetic wave that interferes in the abundance of world we live in.
Mm.
So the world has to make up for that, and it's got to adjust something. The quickest route for you to get what it is that you want In your case, it turned out to be, well, a random occurrence with somebody who happened to have another lender who happened to give you a little bit more, that's a whole lot of happens, isn't it?
Right.
Right?
A whole lot of coincidence.
That's right. But the thing that you did right in your manifestation of something that you desired for yourself is that you allowed, you prevented the negative thoughts that would dissuade you from the electromagnetic alignment. You dissuaded those thoughts from out.
Yeah.
Vice where you didn't believe in yourself with the network marketing, that was enough. Even if you, like you said, I write it down every day. I do the affirmations, but the truth is on the inside, I never believed that I was that.
Yep.
So you got the electrical part down, right? But you didn't have the magnetic part to go
That's
along.
right.
And so, and from that sense, we all essentially create the entirety of the environment, right? And the brain is the process that it goes through to do that because there's a filter. You got your conscious, you got your subconscious, and you have to align those two. Your conscious is your male energy part of your mind, right? The conscious is direct. It
Yep.
sees, it knows, it wants. The subconscious, curvy, right? It's just receptive. It receives information, and then it's its job to process it, filter it, and then expose it back out in the form of these brain waves, which your environment reacts with and adjusts. Everything in life is symbiotic, right? Breathing out, trees, carbon dioxide. Like everything that we live in is symbiotic. But
Mhm.
where we lapse at is that we never learn to control the mind, and we never learn to control the minds associated with the nervous system and emotions.
Right. Because
And
they
that's
don't
why
teach us
so
that.
many of us live like this. So many of us live like, oh, it's purposeful, right? Because you cannot control people who know themselves.
Right.
For
Exactly.
someone who lives in pure authenticity, there is nothing further that they want. They drive their own joy through creating their experience and authenticity of what makes them joyous, right? And then they share that joy with others. The first time that you encounter this level of knowledge, what's the first thing you want to do?
Share it.
Share it. That's right.
What is
Everybody get
that?
the same answer.
Everybody.
You want to share it. So we can go ahead and innately check that one off the box that this is, again, part of the primordial human experience is finding self, right? The only people who are happy throughout their life are the ones who are very authentic in who they are. You don't see them do anything different. They don't speak any differently. You don't catch them in all things. They don't need to. They've authentically found themselves.
So, how would one start to find their authentic self? Like, what are some things people can do that maybe they're wondering how to start their journey of finding themselves?
Yes. So to start finding yourself, let's first say that the journey is one of grace. Um, it's not one that I've found that you can force, right? It always sounds nice. A life of peace sounds very nice. But what it takes to be a person living in peace, you have to have that innate drive to that. That's the point in life that I'm at. And that usually comes from the harm that we see, like the harm that we perceive. You've been harmed so much that you now are willing to, I don't care what it is, I need something different. I give up, right? And giving up is the thing because it brings you back to the primordial emotional experience. Without thought, you're in a state of joy. It's only until you think that that is interrupted as a pattern, right?
Yeah.
And so if someone is at that place where they're starting to touch the line of this, right? Where they're starting to question self, they're starting to question why do things happen every day? Why do I do what I do every day? Or, is there something better for me? Um, that's where your journey begins. And the journey is internal, right? The external part is a part of the brain's inner working. So we experience things based upon our experience. We attach those things to ourselves, right? You see the person driving by in a cool car when you're in high school. The person with the car gets respect. Everybody knows if everybody talks to them. I want a car. But what you really want is the respect that came along with it, right? The people that love, that seem to enjoy. So you go out and you got to get a car, right? And you got to get a good car because you need it to buy you the life that you saw. Well, it's fantastic. That first week that you drive up to high school and everybody, oh, he's got a new car. And then the second week, oh, can I get a ride? And then the third week, you're just a guy driving a car, right? But
Yep.
what are you left with? The lease on the car, the gas, maintenance, the insurance, all of the weight that comes with attaching ourselves to things within this physical realm. You've picked up weight, right? And so in order to get yourself to the point where you are weightless, you have to drop the weight. But you're the one who's attached all the weight to yourself. And then that weight itself also allows you to see and project onto people your own inhibitions, your own dark side. That's why we judge others. Yeah. There's so many things that have happened in our life that we've repressed, but they are a part of the whole self that we need to be to feel authentic. But we can't allow it because someone's told us that it's wrong, or someone laughed at it, or you saw someone else have a negative response to it. And so you've repressed it, right? And so half of you is here, you got this mask on, just the half that you think is accepted. And then the other half of you is way down here somewhere. But the nature of mind is expression.
And
And
I
so,
think it
like,
also is
mhm,
beliefs too, like what you've come up to believe. So like with the car example,
mhm.
I found myself one day, I don't know, a nice car passed, and I was like, oh, he's probably like a rich bitch, you know, and he's probably stuck up. And like I had all these thoughts, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
where did that come from? What is that? Like just because he has a nice car, I think he's like some stuck up, rude, snobby person? Really?
Hmm.
You know, and then I had to like, you know, go through the process of like stopping myself, becoming aware of these thoughts, like where did
Yes.
this come from, and you know, all the things, and like go within myself, because not everybody that has nice cars are snobby, right? You know what I
That's
mean?
right. That's absolutely right. But what you just described is the perfect example. That is what we do because, again, the nature of mind is expression. Now we understand the conscious expressions, the things that we choose to do off of what we're recognizing from what the subconscious releases. But the subconscious expressions must be expressed as well, right? And so if you suppress something, it to your view is negative. So you can't take that on as an action of yourself. So instead, what the mind does, it expresses it in the form of things that you encounter, people that you meet, situations that happen to you. I knew that would happen to me. I knew I would never get anybody to be on my team, right?
That's my
But
mom right
that's your
there.
own personal thoughts about where you sit with what you're doing, and your subconscious is expressing that off of the other things because you want to allow it to be an acceptance of yourself.
Mm.
So dealing with the self is what you have to do, and that becomes the hard part. Everything's internal. You have to self-possess, you have to self-review, you have to change your expressions, you have to open yourself to the fluidity of things that come. If you are of one dominant gender in your energy, you have to accept the other energy. Like there is a process that goes through accepting, and it is a dark process. But this is, again, a part of the change, a part of the nature of change. A caterpillar goes into seclusion to become a butterfly. When you plant seeds, they must go into a dark in order to grow out. Anything that you, if we're going to talk about anything in this physical existence, it's got to go through a darkening phase before it comes out into its new perspective or new lighting, right? And so that's why the dark night of the soul you mentioned in one of your other podcasts. That's
I
what
was
that's
just
really about.
thinking that.
Mhm. That's what it's actually about. See, we have a negative connotation and association with it,
We
but
do.
nothing's negative. Negative is something that's in the way of the progress of what you want for yourself. This is not in the way. That is a perception. This is the direct path to what it is that you want,
To get in it.
right? So you must learn to control your perceptions. Your perceptions are your reality because your perceptions lead to your habits. Your habits become patterns, and your patterns are your life. You can believe whatever you want in your head, but the things that you do with yourself day in and day out are your life. And I can guarantee you, with most 90% of the people, those things are the same every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Get up, go to work, come home,
Mm-hmm.
scroll, watch
Mm-hmm.
TV, go to
Mm-hmm.
bed, do it again.
That's it. Name them off, man. They're
That's
all the
it.
same for everybody.
And then
They,
on the
they, they, they
weekend, we're gonna
travel
go to the
across the world.
bar.
Yep. They cross continents, they cross languages, they cross ethnicities. They're the same thing, right? But that also means we're all striving for the same thing,
Yep.
which is authentic self. There's 6 billion people, between six and more on this planet. There's that many realities that exist, right? And they're
That's
all correct.
crazy. That's
Yeah, they're
crazy to
all
think
correct.
about.
It is. But it provides this thing that we live in where we get to constantly self-assess, build a persona to live in, and then cross-examine that persona off the multitude of existences that are here to see if we like how it reflects back, because they're all mirrors.
Yeah.
So while you're pointing finger and blaming, you can't see the mirror to get yourself to where you're at. You're thinking it's the other person,
Right.
essentially relieving yourself of that, but you've also relieved yourself of your power to bring yourself into who you are, because you must face all the things preventing you from being what you see yourself as. You face them. And on the other side of that is you. There lies your happiness. There is no change in work, in place, or anything else that matters from there when you are expressing yourself authentically as yourself without disruption. Joy.
Yeah.
Yes, you are now expressing the innate abilities that the Creator endowed in you, thus allowing the Creator to know itself, flashing against itself in other form. This is why this feels so calming to you. You're now working in connection with God.
Right. I'm not
That's a
fighting
deep.
against anything. It's just feels good. It's fun. It brings you joy, right?
That's
So
right. Yea, though I walk through the
that's what
valley of
every
the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. You don't have to when you are the beacon light.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what I mean with these things. For someone who has no background in religion or spirituality, that's pretty complex stuff. I don't know why I understand it, but I do. And along with a great deal of other things. But I use these things to kind of build I say a framework, interestingly enough, I use the acronym FRAME to describe it, but a framework to help get people to this state of living more authentically for themselves. Because again, we hear it all the time. You hear it in all the scriptures and verses, and it doesn't matter which spiritual or background or religion you read into, they're all kind of giving you this guideline to how you have this life where you're living, you appreciate it, you're not harming other things, you're giving more than you're taking, you're in pure bliss and joy. They give you this guideline, but it's all coded. It's like in codex. And
Mm-hmm.
so I made these things, as I tend to do, like to an easier format that makes sense of how we live day in and day out our lives. And that format I call frame, for a person to introduce first to themselves a foundation of how they work, right? Because if you don't know how the mind works to perceive things, if you don't know how that connects to the nervous system to feel things, if you don't know how all of this is connecting, well, you really are at mercy of whatever you experience. So the
Right.
foundation establishment of yourself, right? The next we go to an FR for frame, reality, the establishment of the reality. So now that we understand the foundation of how this works, let's look at the reality of how you've been working with it. Do you hate your job? In fact, are you under a state of stress? Do you drive an hour to work every day and have to deal with the perceptions of that? Do you like what's your reality look like? Right? Let's establish that. Then the A, so FRA, and alignment, right? We know that you know how to control now your thoughts. We understand like how your emotions work and how you can change your perception. We understand the reality of how you're living right now, and we understand that you want to live a different way. So let's align that of these patterns that we discovered back on the R that are you. How do they align to the patterns of another person that has your goal that's successful, right? Because the patterns are what matters. If you're in
Yes.
the right pattern, you will receive the things that come along with that pattern. So there's an alignment from there. After you align what you need to do, then there's the momentum phase, right? So now you have to create the momentum, or i.e., enact the will by aligning the head and heart, so that the momentum itself no longer matters. It's not about momentum. People that are aligned in destiny don't care about momentum, good days, bad days, or other. They're doing what they're doing, right? So
Right.
we're taking that completely. Motivation's going completely out the window now. We're going to set you up with momentum through your will, and then the final piece is the daily execution. So all through within that time frame, and I created, so it's essentially a 5-week process, one for each letter of the acronym. By the
Oh,
time you're at the
nice.
end of the process, you know how to conduct yourself through this journey in a day in, day out facet. And so it's one per week, 5 weeks. You're in communication with me. The tools that we practice together, and then tools that you use while you're out. You document those things. You come back, report when we meet again. Let me know how it went, and I'll make sure that we're good on the last setup. That you understand it. You able to at least do some of it and continue on with it, and then we move on to the next phase.
So
And
is
so,
this like an online course?
yes,
Oh, I
Um,
love it.
so there are multifacets to it. I tend to find that virtual works better for people, right? And it works well for me because I don't have to get from place to place, which means I can take on more people, which is my desire to help as many as possible. At
Right.
the point that I die, my written story, I'm writing my obituary. It's going to show that I helped a million plus people to find and discover their lives and live better lives. So
Oh, I love it.
it's one of those things that it's extremely important to me. So if I can find a way that's more conducive to helping more, then I entertain that way. And so virtual tends to be that. I can jump right on with people, have our conversations, and I don't disrupt their time, and I can get to the next person as well. Um, I do face to face because some people don't like virtual. They tend to gain more sitting in front of somebody. When I worked for the government, they wanted us to do online clicking training. Half the people never learned anything from that. So it's like I get it, I understand. Some people need face to face and they need illustrations, so let's do it. So I have options for face to face, and then for people who aren't necessarily maybe you're already in this kind of thing. You had a good deal of knowledge, you got a pretty sound spot on it, but you want to kind of touch up and get yourself to the point where these ideas that you got flowing, you can take them from head to heart to alignment, right? I have group courses. And that way, there we are on a much cheaper scale for people to just kind of get in and see the information or get more of the information. I get the information for free, but people want to get more of the how you do it every day thing, and then they
Yeah.
can take that and run. It's like, yeah, you don't need a one-on-one with me. That's going to be a lot of your time, but you join in on this group class is going to be a quarter of the price of the other thing, and you'll get all the data from there. So, I
Okay.
try to create multifacets. The one I'm working on now is a digital product. I'm trying to convert that frame process to something digital so someone can do in their own time, in their own home, whenever they want to do it. So yeah, it's here and it's out. It's available. I put it on a website finally.
Okay. Oh, is your website new? Because I was scrolling through it and I was like, okay, I like it. I like
Yes.
the little setup you got, but I did not see the group option there. Because
It's
I didn't
there.
know you had a little group option.
Yep. So the group was there, and yes, the website's newer. Some of this is, as it tends to be, I don't want to say a kicking and screaming process for me, but
I mean, sometimes it can be setting up a website can be a little bit of a hassle when you don't know anything about it. You're just like, well, okay.
that's right. And it's the business aspect of all of this that becomes the kicking and
Yeah.
screaming part, right? Because I just want to help people. I've tested this stuff. I've been through it in my life. I've changed my life. That relationship that I talked about earlier, my
Hmm.
wife and I are fantastic. We are better than we were when we were dating.
Oh, I love it. Well,
It's
because you're a
man,
different person, and probably she is too.
the influences that take place when you become the light that you're intended to be are magnificent. My children's perspectives have changed. I leave now to go for a training. I went to Phoenix about a month ago to do some training on the business training. And my kids were in tears. One of them on my leg before I was like, I'm just going for the weekend. But now dad's the most amazing father in the world, right? And so it's these things and these changes that resulted in that, and so I know that they work because my situation was, for my purpose, is as dire as anybody's, right? We've all got our own nightmares, so we all got our own dreams. Have always dreamed of being a father. It was important to me, right?
Right.
And I've always wanted to believe that I would be a fantastic supportive spouse, but it's like everything, you don't necessarily know it till you've done it. You just got to jump in and do it, and then you come to find out you're not as great as you thought you were, right?
Right.
But you find the other ways and the changes. And again, these guidances are out there. Every spiritual text that I read, once you get through about 7 to 8 of them, you see through them and you hear the similarities and the code in them all. They're all
So all
telling you
of them are similar.
they are very, very similar. I love speaking to people about them. I love kind of clarifying for people that you don't have to be as opposed to this person that's maybe studying a Hindi background and you're a Christian, right? You guys aren't as far apart as you think you are, but you'd
Right.
have to have somebody that understands the middle ground in between that can explain the similarities and why you're both after the same thing. Buddhist and Christianity tends to be like one of those ones that kind of
But heads.
what's a lot, right?
Hmm.
But the leaders of each are saying the same things, but two sides of the same coin, right? You talk Jesus, who's speaking towards unconditional love. No matter what takes place with you, you love, right? Fair enough in that sense. If you were able to do that, That sounds like a fantastic life. You look at Buddha, Siddhartha, he would preach detachment from love, right? And not detachment meaning you love halfway, but meaning you don't hold on to the results of the actions that you create out of love. Put the two of them together. Oh, wait a minute. Well, that makes more sense. If I were intending to love unconditionally, right, I would kind of not have to be attached to what comes from the thing that I do in order to do that. Because the attachment means you got to think what's going to happen in the future. I just put my effort into this. And with that thought comes all the options of what could go any kind of way.
Yeah.
Well, now you got to assess that. With the thought comes the emotions and now the anxiety and then, oh God, this isn't going to work. So you bring yourself right back to it, right? But if you detach from the end result, um, Washington, D.C., late night with a friend. We leave out of this concert. There are tons of people walking in what's a small area of an alleyway. There is a man walking. He's holding something in his hand, an older gentleman. He's got a hand on the brick wall next to him, and people are kind of bumping into him, not really getting out of the way. I noticed this man is blind, and that stick that he has is his walking stick, which looks like someone stepped on. So there was no peace to it.
Oh
I
wow.
walked through the crowd of people. I grabbed this man by the hand. I said, "Sir, I'm here to help you. If you would like me to help you, I'd like to guide you to where you're going." And he says, "Oh, thank you. I would appreciate that." I gestured to my friends, "Hey, don't wait up on me. Catch the cab. I'll be back." And I walked this man through southeastern DC at nighttime, no lights, to his home.
Oh
No
wow.
fear, none. Nothing happened to me. That man thanked me. He was almost in tears. I left back, and luckily I got great friends. They didn't leave; they were waiting for me there. But
Oh, that's
I
great.
mean, these are the things that I'm talking about. Like when you find that level of authenticity, you see the thing that means something to you, and there is no other option for you. There is no further fear. This is who you are, and you conduct yourself in such a manner irrelevant to the environmental circumstances.
Right.
And people see that they gravitate towards it. You want to change your family, change yourself.
Yeah.
People see you at peace. They know the difference in someone at real peace and someone pretending it. And the next question that someone wants to ask when they see you at real peace is, how are you doing that? How is it that you're doing that?
Well, or do you think that's also on how they like I don't know how to word it, like that they actually want that. Like
Yes,
some people are just so wrapped up in their own anxiety and their thoughts, they don't see anything else.
that's true too. So a big part of this is that understanding. Yes, if this is the part that you just brought up is the has been the hardest part of this journey for me, because as we stated, the second that you gain some insight to something that leads to this peace thing that we're all that you want to tell everyone, right? Like you want to talk to people, and, hey, you should be at peace too. Like that's the
Right.
thing. But the
Right.
truth is that we're all in our own pattern, if you will, for the sake of our own outcome accepting that someone should have the flexibility and freedom to choose their own level of pain is very difficult for me,
Yeah.
especially when I have a key. I mean, there are multiple keys, but I have one, right? And it's like, can you please let me open this door for you? Please. But the understanding is that no, 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 that's that person's path. They
Yeah.
have to be free to choose their own suffering until they have met enough of it to realize themselves and then find their path out. And then I can be a beacon of light to show them that this exists as a reality.
Yeah.
I have been told internally to myself that I can help anyone that exists find their own authenticity and peace. I have been told that. And I believe it to be true. I just have to get out of my own way because I want to force people into their peace.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm kind of like I like because I in human design I'm a projector, so apparently I see like where they could improve, and I just want to give them advice, and then the people that are not receptive to my advice spit it back in my face, and they're like, I don't want to hear that, da, 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 da. And I'm just like, but I'm just trying to help you. Like, why don't you see that? And
Yeah,
it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating. So I'm learning to keep my mouth shut basically unless I get invited to, help them.
absolutely. I mean, the beauty of it that helps me is that I have what I believe to be an understanding that the creator is individually working with all of these individual 6 billion existences, right? And working with, when I say that, meaning they are creating their own conscious reality through their current experience, and that will lead them to another reality at some point. Any disruption in that may delay that process, in fact, right? Because they are seeing things in a much different lens than I see things. I have the things that happen to me and me only. The way I saw those things that happen to me, see them the way that I see them only, right? Have them affect me the way that they affect me only. So any advice that I may have for another, particularly without them asking, would just be me putting myself in their seat, which I can't do because I don't have their background. So my answer won't satisfy their emotional responses the way it will mine.
Right.
So
Exactly.
now looking at it that way, oh, I don't want to hinder you.
Yeah.
I
When you
do
say it
want
like
that.
that.
That's correct. And that becomes the truth because we all, again, by grace, right? At some point, you will have reached something or something will have reached you to make you say, I want this for myself now. And that's when you become unstoppable.
Yeah.
I want this for myself. That's where people like me come in. I'm
Yeah.
just a teacher, right? I'm not a motivator. I'm not some guy selling something. I'm just a teacher. As is connected through God. I can take complex tasks and I can break them down to understandable things in life. And I accept that gift. In fact, I love it now. It lights me up when I talk about
I love it. I love it
it.
so much. So, what is your website? I'm gonna put that in the show notes, but what is the website for everyone to kind of connect with you if they want to work with you and check out your program or maybe the group program?
Yes. So website is www.inzonelife, INZONE, like your inner zone,
Mm-hmm.
inzonelife.com.
Okay.
And they stated we got different programs. I am working on the digital as well. The information and your progression is what's most important to me. So when I say your progression, anybody that's watching, listening, that would like to find out more information, don't set yourself out of the realm of working together. Um, don't make anything up for yourself. Just reach out to me because I'm willing to work with people. I'm willing to do whatever's necessary to meet those people who, for themselves, are ready to find themselves. Because that light will shift to other people and they'll cause another and another and another to change.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
ripple
about.
effect. Ripple effect. I love it.
Yes, the ripple effect. And that change will change all of us.
Yes.
If I influence one person, they influence two, then I influence three. That's the way this all works.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming up here today and taking some time. I might, want to do another podcast with you because this was so interesting. And I would love to
Oh,
like
please.
learn, dive more, a little more deep and, all the things.
Absolutely. There is a depth to this, and we kind of scratched the surface,
That's
but
what
there's
I feel like.
oh yeah, there's certainly depth that explains how the human perspective and experience works, how it shapes everything. How you can alter that perception and live in the perception of the way you want to see things, and really catching all the different creases that mean something to the direction of what you want for yourself. Again, that's where your power comes from, right? Like you can create whatever life you want if you can see every angle relative to the thing you wanted. Well, you can.
Yeah, I feel that way.
It's so very
Definitely
true.
feel that way.
Your
Well,
God wants for you what you want for you.
exactly. I love it. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marie. I really enjoyed.
All right. I'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you would like the links to anything that was discussed, please see the show notes. Or, of course, you can visit our website at www.thewoowoonyou.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at thewoowoonyou for more woo.